In the history of football, a few tragedies have shaken the sport to its core, like the Munich Air Disaster of 1958. On that fateful day, a plane carrying the Manchester United team, nicknamed the Busby Babes, crashed while attempting to take off from Munich Airport, killing 23 people including players, staff, members, and journalists. But what if things had gone differently? What if the Busby Babes had not stopped to refuel in Munich and instead made it safely back to Manchester? The possibilities are endless, and the implications of such a scenario are far-reaching. Welcome to Downward Dog, where we bring you the most mind-boggling scenarios. Subscribe now and join our community. Have you ever wondered what would have happened if the Busby Babes had never stopped to refuel in Munich? In this video, we're going to explore 5 different scenarios of what might have happened if the plane had never crashed. The Busby Babes were a talented young football team from Manchester United in the 1950s. The team was managed by Sir Matt Busby, who had a vision to develop a team of young, homegrown players who would play an attacking style of football. Under Busby's leadership, the Busby Babes had already won the league twice in the previous 3 seasons, and had reached the semi-finals of the European Cup in the 1957-58 season. The team was seen as one of the most talented in football history, with players like Duncan Edwards, Roger Byrne, and Tommy Taylor. The Munich Air Disaster was a tragic event that occurred on February 6, 1958. It was a plane crash that claimed the lives of 23 people, including 8 members of the Manchester United football team, known as the Busby Babes. The team was returning from a European Cup match in Belgrade, Yugoslavia, and had to stop in Munich, Germany to refuel. The weather conditions were poor, with snow and slush on the runway, and the plane failed to take off on its 3rd attempt, crashing into a nearby house. The impact of the crash was devastating. 7 of the team's players died instantly, and another player, Duncan Edwards, passed away in a hospital a few days later. The team captain, Roger Byrne, and other key players like Tommy Taylor, Mark Jones, and Eddie Coleman were among the victims. The team's manager, Sir Matt Busby, was seriously injured, but he survived the crash. The Munich Air Disaster was a significant event in football history. It was a tragic loss of young talent and potential. The Busby Babes were seen as one of the most talented teams in football history, and their loss was felt deeply by the football community around the world. The disaster had a lasting impact on Manchester United and English football. It took several years for Manchester United to rebuild the team and regain their status as a top team in English football. Sir Matt Busby, the team's manager, had to overcome the tragedy and rebuild the team with new players. It was a difficult process, but he was able to eventually guide Manchester United to success in the 1960s, winning the league twice in the European Cup in 1968. Let's discuss top 5 scenarios if Busby Babes hadn't stopped to refuel in Munich. Scenario 1. The Busby Babes continued their dominance. Before the Munich Air Disaster, the Busby Babes were one of the most talented teams in football history. They'd already won the league twice in the previous 3 seasons, and were on course to win it again in the 1957-58 season. They'd also reached the semi-finals of the European Cup, which was an impressive achievement at the time. If the team had continued without stopping in Munich, they would have returned home safely and continued their successful season. They could have gone on to win the European Cup and maybe even completed a treble. This would have cemented their place in history as one of the greatest football teams ever. Scenario 2. The Busby Babes retained their players. The Busby Babes were known for their talented young players, including Duncan Edwards, Roger Byrne, and Tommy Taylor. Unfortunately, all of them lost their lives in the Munich Air Disaster. But if the plane had never crashed, the Busby Babes would have continued to play together and develop their skills. It's possible that they could have gone on to achieve even greater things in the years to come. Scenario 3. Manchester United's influence on English football. Before the Munich disaster, Manchester United was one of the biggest football clubs in England. They'd already won the league 5 times and they had a huge following around the world. If the team had continued without stopping in Munich, Manchester United would have continued to exert their influence on English football. They would have remained a dominant force and could have even gone on to win more league titles and European Cups. Their success could have inspired a new generation of football fans and players in England and around the world. Scenario 4. The effects on football in Munich. The Munich Air Disaster had a huge impact on football in Munich. The city lost many of its young football talents, and the local teams struggled to recover from the loss. If the Busby Babes had not stopped in Munich, the disaster would have been averted and the football community in Munich would have remained intact. The young talents would have continued to play and develop their skills, and the local teams would have had a brighter future. This could have led to a much more competitive football scene in Munich and could have even produced more world-class football players in the future. Scenario 5. Sir Matt Busby's legacy. Sir Matt Busby was the manager of the Busby Babes, and he played a significant role in their success. He survived the Munich Air Disaster but was seriously injured. After recovering, he continued to manage Manchester United for many years, and he helped them achieve further success. If the Busby Babes had not stopped in Munich, Sir Matt Busby's legacy would have been different. He would not have had to overcome the tragedy and rebuild the team. However, he still would have been remembered as one of the greatest football managers in history. In this scenario, we can assume that Manchester United would have continued to dominate English football, and possibly even Europe. Sir Matt Busby had a unique approach to management, and his teams played an attacking and entertaining style of football that was ahead of its time. Without the Munich Air Disaster, he would have had more time to work with his talented team and continue to develop young players. Perhaps Manchester United would have gone on to win more league titles and European Cups. Sir Matt Busby may have stayed at the football club for longer, and his impact on football would have been even greater. He was a visionary manager who believed in nurturing young talent and developing a strong team spirit, and his legacy would have been even more significant without the tragedy of Munich. In conclusion, the question of what if the Busby Babes had not stopped to refuel in Munich is a fascinating one. The scenarios we've explored in this video offer a glimpse into an alternate football history that could have been. We've seen how the Busby Babes could have gone on to even greater success, how the tragedy could have been avoided, and how the legacies of the players and manager could have been different. But the reality is that the Munich Air Disaster did happen, and it had a profound impact on the football world. It serves as a reminder of the importance of safety measures and the need to cherish every moment of life. The Busby Babes will always be remembered as a team of young talent and potential that was taken too soon. Thank you for joining us on this journey through football history. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to show your support by giving it a like and sharing it with others. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss upcoming videos. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next one.